want you to picture something for a second. If you're not driving, maybe close your eyes. Imagine a racetrack. And on the tarmac, there's this sleek consumer SUV.
You know, the kind you see doing the school run.
Exactly. Sharp, modern, looks good in city traffic. But hitched to the back of it is a massive 8x8 military-grade army vehicle.
We're talking about a 24-ton beast.
The 24-ton beast. Sounds like something you'd type into an AI image generator, right? SUV towing an army truck.
It really does. Or maybe a stunt from a blockbuster movie where, you know, the laws of physics are just a gentle suggestion.
But this actually happened. It was part of this event called Quad Day, and the SUV was the brand new Tata Harrier EV.
And that visual, I mean, the sheer absurdity of it is a perfect starting point.
It is, and that's our mission for this deep dive. We're not just going to read you a spec sheet. We have a whole stack of sources here. First-hand reports from Autocar India, pricing info from SmartPre, and some really deep industry analysis on Tata's new architecture.
So we're going to unpack how Tata Motors managed to turn a diesel-heavy legacy SUV into what they're calling a software-defined electric beast.
And a beast that claims to be the quickest car made in India.
That is a very bold claim.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts. Because on the surface, you might see one and just think, oh, nice, a Harrier with a green license plate.
It looks very familiar, and that's completely intentional.
They kept that silhouette, the split headlight, that whole aggressive look.
Yeah, that's inspired by the Sierra EV concept. But here's the thing, and this is really the first key insight for you listening. Don't let the bodywork fool you.
It's what's underneath.
What's underneath is a completely different animal.
Yeah.
This isn't just an IC car, an internal combustion car with a battery shoved in.
Which is a common misconception, right? People think they just, rip out the engine and call it a day.
Exactly. We call that an IC conversion.
Wrong.
But that is not what's happening here. The diesel Harrier is built on the Omega Arc platform.
Which is derived from Land Rover, I believe.
It is, from the D8 architecture. And it's a great platform, don't get me wrong. Very rigid, great for off-roading. But it was designed for a combustion engine.
Meaning it has a transmission tunnel.
Right down the middle of the car. That hump in the floor in the back seat.
Where the middle passenger has to sit with their knees around their ears.
Precisely. In a gas car, that houses the drive shaft, the exhaust. In an EV, it's just wasted space. You can't put batteries in there efficiently.
So what did they do?
They moved to a whole new architecture called Acti.ev Plus, and the single biggest difference, a flat floor.
Which sounds simple, but engineering-wise, taking out that tunnel means you've completely redesigned the spine of the car, haven't you?
Completely. You have to add rigidity back in other places, but the payoff is huge. You get more cabin space, and more importantly, you can lay the battery pack low and flat across the entire wheelbase.
Which brings that center of gravity way down.
And completely transforms the handling. But they didn't stop there. The suspension is radically different.
The reports mention something called ultra-glide suspension. Is that just marketing fluff, or is there real hardware there?
Oh, it's real hardware. Substantially different. The diesel Harrier has a twist beam rear suspension.
Okay, what does that mean in simple terms?
It's sort of semi-independent. The two rear wheels are connected by a beam. If your left wheel hits a big pothole, the beam twists and the right wheel feels it too. There's crosstalk.
So it's durable, but maybe not the most comfortable ride.
It can feel a little unsettled, yeah. The EV switches to a fully independent multi-link rear suspension.
So for you listening, what does that actually feel like when you're driving?
Okay, so imagine heading that same huge pothole with just your left wheel. With an independent setup, that wheel moves up and down all on its own. It doesn't disturb the right wheel.
The car stays flatter.
The car stays flat. The cabin doesn't get tossed around. It's just a much, much plusher ride. Less head bobbing for everyone in the back.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
and they paired this with something called frequency-dependent dampers.
They did. And this sounds super high-tech, but the beauty is that it's all mechanical. It's hydraulic engineering, not electronics.
How does that work?
Well, the damper has a special valve inside. When you hit a sharp bump, that's a high-frequency vibration, the valve opens up, makes the suspension soft, and it just soaks up the hit.
Okay.
But when you're cornering, which is a slow, low-frequency movement, the valve stays closed to keep the car stiff and stable.
So it's mechanically smart. It knows the difference between a pothole and a corner without a computer telling it what to do.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a massive upgrade and refinement.
Okay, so the ride is sorted. Let's get to the fun part. The power. Tata keeps using this term, QWD, quad-wheel drive.
Sounds very futuristic, doesn't it?
It does. But is it just all-wheel drive with a cool name?
Essentially, yes, but quad is meant to emphasize that each wheel can get power independently. The setup itself is really fascinating.
Because they use two different types of motors.
Right. Up front, you have a 158 horsepower induction motor. But at the back, there's a more powerful 238 horsepower permanent magnet synchronous motor.
Why the mix and match? Why not just use two of the same?
It's all about balancing efficiency and punch. Permanent magnet motors, like the one in the back, are super efficient, but they create a little bit of drag when they're not being used.
Okay.
Induction motors, the one in the front, can just spin freely with almost no drag. So when you're cruising on the highway, the car can just use the efficient rear motor and let the front one sleep, which saves range.
But when you put your foot down,
They both wake up instantly.
okay, I'm doing the math in my head. 158 plus 238 is almost 400 horsepower. But the spec sheet says 313. Where did 80 horses go?
This is a classic EV nuance. In an electric car, the limiting factor for peak power usually isn't the motors.
It's the battery.
It's the battery.
Yeah.
Exactly. The battery is the bottleneck. Think of the motors as two massive fire hoses, but the battery is the hydrant.
Right. Doesn't matter how big your hoses are if the hydrant can only push out so much water per minute.
You got it. The battery is basically saying, I can only give you 313 horsepower worth of electricity at any one time.
That is a great analogy. So the motors are actually under stressed.
They are. But
Yeah.
even so, 313 horsepower and, this is the important number, 504 newton meters of torque.
That's serious. Serious enough to tow a 24-ton truck and serious enough for a 0 to 100 time of 6.3 seconds.
Which is blistering for a family SUV, and that's their claim quickest made-in-India car.
Plus, there's a boost mode, just in case you need to go even faster.
Yes, on the top end, empowered QWD variant. But really, that quad day event was about proving this isn't just a pavement princess.
Right, the obstacle course. The Autocar India report made it sound pretty intense. They had it doing some wild stuff.
They did. And it really shows how electric off-roading is different from mechanical off-roading. Take the bridge. It was a 34-degree incline.
That is steep. I mean, that's looking at the sky steep.
It is. In a manual car, you'd be worried about stalling, burning the clutch. Here, they just used hill hold assist. They stopped mid-climb, took their foot off the brake, and the car just hangs there.
No drama.
No drama at all. Touch the accelerator, and the instant torque just pulls you up. It almost feels like cheating.
It does take some of the old school skill out of it.
It lowers the barrier to entry for sure.
Yeah.
Then there was the camel's hump.
The ground clearance test.
Yep. The estimates put the clearance around 200 millimeters, and the report did note the battery made gentle contact on the biggest hump.
Oof, that sounds scary. Banging the most expensive part of your car on a rock.
It definitely triggers some anxiety, but these battery packs are armored for exactly that reason. A little scrape is okay, a puncture is what you're trying to avoid.
But the craziest part had to be the stairs.
It climbed a staircase.
A whole staircase.
Climbed up, came back down. The interesting thing was, on the descent, the driver had to brake manually. They didn't use the hill descent control.
Why not? Isn't that what it's for?
Well, it probably has to do with the calibration. The system might get confused by the sudden drops of each step. It shows that, the tech is amazing, but the driver still needs to be involved.
And speaking of tech, they have this off-road assist. The report called it cruise control for rocks.
That's a great description. You set a speed as low as 5 kilometers an hour, and the car just handles the throttle and brake to crawl over loose rocks. All you do is steer.
Takes all the tricky pedal work out of it. And for anyone listening who lives somewhere with heavy monsoons, this one stat is huge.
Well, wading depth.
600 millimeters.
That's 2 feet of water. That's the difference between getting home in a flash flood and getting stranded.
Absolutely. No air intake to worry about.
As long as the battery and doors are sealed tight, you're good to go.
So, okay, we've established it's tough, it's fast. But Tata keeps calling it a software-defined vehicle. Now, to me, that sounds like a bit of a buzzword.
It is a buzzword, but in this case, it actually represents a fundamental shift. The architecture is called TIDAL. TIDAL, Tata Intelligent Digital Architecture Layer.
And the scale is just mind-boggling. The sources say it runs on 500 million lines of code.
To put that into perspective, a modern fighter jet, like an F-35, runs on maybe 25 million lines of code.
Wait. So this family SUV has 20 times more code than a fighter jet. How is that possible? It sounds like bloat.
It does, doesn't it? But a fighter jet is a closed system. This car is an open ecosystem. It has to manage infotainment, battery cooling, ADS, voice assistance, and connect to your phone and third-party apps. The brain of the car controls everything.
Let's talk about that ADS for a second.
Yeah.
Because usually ADS in India is a nightmare. It just panics constantly.
That's the common complaint, yeah. Most systems are tuned for Europe, where if someone cuts you off, it's an emergency. In India, if someone cuts you off, it's Tuesday.
Exactly. If the car slammed the brakes every time, you'd never get anywhere.
But Tata claims to have tuned this level 2 ADS for that chaos. The reports say it's much less aggressive. It's designed to be a supportive co-driver, not a panicky instructor.
Which means people might actually leave it turned on.
That's the hope. And there are other clever software tricks too, like the transparent bonnet.
Okay, that sounds like something from Thai movie.
It's not quite X-ray vision. It uses the front cameras to record the ground before you drive over it, and then it stitches that image onto your screen, so it looks like your bonnet is glass.
And you can see exactly where your wheels are going.
Perfect for placing your tires on a tricky rock. And then there's Anywhere Park Assist.
So it doesn't need the white lines.
Nope. You just use a touchpad to point to a spot on the screen, even an unmarked dirt patch, and say, park there.
That's genuinely useful.
And the rearview mirror can become a screen too, with a feed from a camera on the roof. The test said it was lag-free.
Okay, let's get practical. For you actually thinking about buying this, range and charging are everything.
So you get 2 battery options, a 65 kilowatt-hour pack, and a bigger 75 kilowatt-hour one.
And the range on the big one.
The official claim on the Indian cycle is up to 627 kilometers.
But we all know that cycle is very optimistic.
Very optimistic, yes. A more realistic real-world range would probably be around 480 to 505 kilometers.
Which is still really solid. That's a comfortable intercity trip.
It is. And charging is decent. It supports 120 kilowatt DC fast charging.
So what does that mean in time?
It means you can go from 20% to 80% in about 25 minutes.
Perfect for a coffee break on a long drive.
Yeah.
And it can give power back out too.
It can. V2L vehicle to load, so you can power a laptop or even some lights at home. And V2V vehicle to vehicle, so you can be a hero and give a little juice to another EV that's run out.
It's a huge power bank on wheels. So what's all this tech going to cost?
The pricing is pretty aggressive. It starts around 21.5 lakh rupees, which is about 23,000 euros. But if you want the big battery and the quad-wheel drive, you're looking at just under 29 lakh.
And where does that place it in the market?
It sits above smaller EVs like the MG ZS EV, but it's competing head-on with things like the Mahindra XEV9. It's positioning itself as a premium, rugged option.
And they're really leaning into that with the branding, right? I saw the color names. Empowered Oxide. Nadolin Nocturne.
Needle Nocturne sounds more like a cologne than a car color.
I kind of love it. So let's zoom out. What does this all mean for Tata?
I think this is the strategic pivot. Tata wants a 50% share of India's EV market. You can't do that with converted gasoline cars forever. The Harrier EV proves they can build what we call a born EV.
They're not just relying on legacy platforms anymore.
Exactly. It keeps the rugged utility people love, towing army trucks. But the insides are pure Silicon Valley. 500 million lines of code.
It's such a fascinating mix. Brute force meets high-level computation.
And that raises a really interesting, maybe provocative question for me, and maybe for you listening too.
What's that?
Well, we've always talked about driver's cars, right? Cars that feel mechanical, analog, connected. We love them because we do the work.
Right.
With a Harrier EV, you have features like stair climbing and perfect rock crawling, but they're enabled by software, not just by mechanical grip or driver skill.
I see where you're going with this.
Are we seeing the end of the driver's car and the birth of the driver's computer? When the car is smarter than the driver, and it executes the perfect maneuver for you, who's really driving?
That is a thought to chew on. Is it still off-roading if an algorithm is doing most of the heavy lifting?
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, I just want to take a moment and speak directly to you, the person listening to this right now. We know you're the kind of person, we call you the learner, who is genuinely curious.
Yeah, you're not just here for the headlines. You're here because you actually want to understand the why and the how.
It's not everyone who wants to get into the weeds of suspension valving or the difference between motor types.
And we really appreciate that curiosity and the effort you take to stay so well informed.
Absolutely. So thank you for spending your time with us today. It's always a pleasure to unpack these things for you.
Indeed.
See you in the next deep dive.